Most people look at video games and see art, storytelling, or an escape. You look at video games and see a series of flawed dopamine funnels. At your corporate dev job, your bosses are idiots. They sit in glass conference rooms celebrating a 4% increase in user retention, completely blind to the reality of how their product actually functions. They spend millions of dollars chasing aggressive customer acquisition, buying up ad space across social media networks, only to alienate 99% of their players with unskippable 30-second video pop-up ads just to make fractions of a cent per impression. It's loud, it's desperate, it's deeply inefficient. You sit in your cubicle, staring at the telemetry data, and you realize they are fundamentally doing it all wrong. In your mind, true acquisition doesn't come from forcing compliance through irritation. It comes from engineering a trap so beautiful, so incredibly pristine, that the prey walks through the front gate entirely of their own free will. You don't say a word to anyone. You don't file a complaint. You don't pitch a better monetization strategy. And you don't wait for your scheduled performance review. You simply pack your personal laptop into your bag, drop your plastic company ID badge onto the center of your empty desk, and walk out of the building. You don't want to build a bloated, corporate ad delivery platform. You want to build a masterpiece. You spend the next 6 months in absolute isolation coding a digital card game. You don't rush the process because shortcuts create friction and friction breaks immersion. You call it the forge. You make the user interface fluid and hyper-responsive. The art style is striking, dark, and minimalist. More importantly, the core mechanics are genuinely brilliant. It isn't a cheap clone of existing card games. It requires genuine strategy, positioning, and foresight. When you launch it, it is completely free to play, highly rewarding, and entirely fair. You systematically design the early game to give every single user a massive rush of dopamine from genuine, earned victories. You shower new accounts with free card packs, generous daily login rewards, and exclusive starter cosmetics. You are intentionally lowering their defensive walls. You are conditioning them to love the environment, making them feel like they have finally found a developer who respects their time and intelligence. Then, once the psychological hook is buried deep enough and they are thoroughly addicted to the routine, you deploy the first soft monetization layer. It isn't an aggressive, flashing banner. It's a beautifully timed, high-value welcome booster bundle for exactly $4.99, triggered precisely after a player completes their 10th ranked match. The bundle perfectly matches their exact playstyle. Because the game is a legitimate masterpiece, they don't feel exploited. They feel a sense of gratitude. They click buy instantly. The strategy works flawlessly. The game goes completely viral, fueled by word-of-mouth recommendations and organic community hype. Within 3 weeks, it skyrockets to the absolute top of the mobile app store charts. Major gaming publications write glowing reviews, praising the game for being addictive, deeply rewarding, and the single fairest free-to-play title on the market. Your personal bank account explodes, pulling in millions of dollars in a matter of days. But you don't care about the millions of casual players praising your name on forums, nor do you care about their 5-star reviews. You filter them out of your backend analytics dashboard entirely. They are noise. They are financially irrelevant. Instead, you are looking specifically for the outliers, the top 0.5% of the player base, the chronic spenders who open hundreds of digital card packs late at night, driven by a compulsive need to win. For them, the backend code subtly changes. You implement dynamic, hidden microtransactions that algorithmically scale to their exact spending thresholds and behavior patterns. The more packs they buy, the deeper they sink into calculated progression walls, and the more the in-game storefront morphs around them. The system automatically hides the cheap $4 bundles, replacing them exclusively with premium $300 titanium crates. They don't have the impulse control to stop, and they don't want to lose their investment. You don't feel a drop of malice toward them. You just keep quietly optimizing the system. One evening, with your digital empire running entirely on autopilot, you sit in your dark room and decide to personally spectate the telemetry data of your absolute highest spending user, the apex whale of your entire global server. On the screen, you watch this player lock themselves into a brutal, frantic leaderboard war against another top account. In a desperate bid to maintain a fictional digital rank before the midnight server reset, this individual spends over $5,000 in a single, hyper-accelerated hour, opening crate after crate to chase temporary statistical boosts. You find yourself curious about the mind on the other side of the screen. You decide to look past the randomized username. Using your diagnostic administrative permissions, you look up the target's real-world registration details, billing history, and precise GPS location data. You trace the coordinate line across a digital map to see what kind of elite, wealthy titan is funding your new lifestyle. You pull up the satellite imagery, fully expecting to see a sprawling suburban estate, a luxury high-rise penthouse, or the office of a high-tech corporate executive. The contrast is immediate and jarring. The coordinates pinpoint a tiny, crumbling, rundown studio apartment complex situated in a bleak, neglected corner of the industrial district. Your apex whale isn't a billionaire with money to burn. It's a completely average, isolated, desperate person living in structural decay, actively destroying their real-world financial stability to purchase a temporary digital illusion that you engineered in a single weekend. You stand up from your chair. You walk over to the floor-to-ceiling glass window of your pristine, multi-million-dollar luxury apartment. You look out over the glittering city skyline, illuminated by the cold, sterile blue light reflecting from your multi-monitor workspace. You don't feel a sudden surge of crushing guilt. You don't feel malice or regret or pity. Guilt is an inefficient, unoptimized emotion that serves no structural purpose. Instead, you simply arrive at a blunt, hyper-rational conclusion. The game is mathematically perfect. The data predicted exactly how a mind with poor impulse control would behave under artificial stress, and the user executed those actions precisely. They were given a choice and they chose to press the button. You didn't force them. You didn't steal from them. You just built the button. You walk back over to your desk and sit down in the quiet dark. You open up a clean development template on your primary screen. You pull up the core code for a massive, unannounced card expansion pack that you've been working on, an expansion specifically engineered to completely shift the game's competitive meta, rendering all current top-tier decks completely obsolete. It is guaranteed to force your apex whales to spend another 5 figures just to claw their way back to the top of the ladder. You glance at the numbers one last time, your face completely expressionless, and calmly click the button marked deploy. The system pings, the waterfall resets.